Ladies and gentlemen, think before you sleep. Did it again. Hey, Chris. So we're talking about a bitch in Japan again, but I'm not going to do any law recap. If you don't know what's going on, the drama, the clash, the beef, I'll put some links in the description, but I'm pretty confident that he's going to do a proper reintroduction. So let's go.
If you are a large content creator, both literally and metaphorically, you should be willing to accept a degree of scrutiny. I know I do. Every time I release a video, people attack me for various things.
Sounds good. I'm glad Chris is so open to criticism. For those of you who don't know, there's been a little drama going on in the Japan YouTuber space between Oriental Pearl and the owner of probably the biggest foreigner in Japan YouTube channel, Chris Broad. The whole thing has been shocking because previously I was a longtime fan of Chris. He seems like a genuine good guy who is fun to watch. But what I've ended up finding out while watching this whole event unfold is that Chris is kind of a petty sociopath who is probably guilty of at least 2 different crimes.
Same.
If you want the full story, then you can watch this video here that I made, but for the people who haven't seen it yet, let's do a quick recap of the stuff that's happened that's related to this video. This whole thing started out when Oriental Pearl, or Alyssa, made a video called What is Happening to Japan, where she tries to bring awareness to problems like graffiti, homelessness, and a popular news story in Japan about teenagers who are runaways from abusive homes.
The graffiti just seems to be getting worse. I've seen this over the last few years. The city actually did come and repaint this whole bridge because it looked like that green wall before. But as you see, it's already back.
Chris didn't like this video, so he went onto Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, the YouTube community tab, and Alyssa's comment section to air out his grievances and to be an apologist for criminals.
Chris said, this is the most ridiculous video I've seen in 13 years living in Japan. Goodness gracious.
To which I'm sure the Japanese people are just super happy about. In response, Alyssa posted on Facebook and made a video asking Chris to remove the comments, which, as I said in the prior video, I can see why she asked him to do that, but I think it was a bad move because it looks a lot like censoring critics.
Yeah.
Next, the most egregious part, Chris releases this video here where he does such bad research on homelessness that I can only assume that it was intentional to minimize how much of an issue it is in Japan.
Yeah. The area is also synonymous with Tokyo's homeless population as far back as...
Or he doesn't know how to do research. I mean, that's also a possibility, you know. Just because you have a large following, it doesn't mean that automatically you are a master researcher. I know a few myself that,
2003, which, according to the statistics, is thankfully going down. And if you walk around there today, compared to 10 years ago, there are far less homeless people.
This is wrong. The article that he got these numbers from admits they are inaccurate right under the headline. Chris also takes Alyssa out of context numerous times, one of which where he CNN-style or BBC-style edits her to make it look like she's laughing at homeless people.
A few years ago, a friend showed me a clip of a video in which the same person walked through an economically deprived part of Tokyo filming homeless people.
Oh my gosh, this is a rough area.
Under the guise of showing the real Japan.
What actually happened here is that Alyssa was being sexually harassed and was laughing uncomfortably after a guy offered to buy her for sex.
Clearly not a homeless person, by the way, I'd like to underline.
何買うんですか?
お前よバカ野郎やらせろ一発
No. Oh my gosh, this is a rough area.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. ちょっとやばい話です。
おいこらスモール
Yeah, 大丈夫です。
Chris's edit of this moment very much looks like defamation, and in Japan, where they both live, defamation, I believe, is a criminal offense.
Abroad in Japan, you should be ashamed of yourself. That's me. You knew exactly what you were doing.
If you still have respect for the guy at this point, I question you.
And
that was my mate, Evil Dia. Ooh, goodness gracious. See? Evil Dia, that was you. There you go. Man, I can't even say Evil Dia. And don't you even try to translate Evil Dia in Latin. You're gonna get upside down chicken everywhere. I don't know. No, but honestly, yeah, that's disgusting. That's an awful thing that he did. And I have also dedicated a couple of videos to underline this terrible, terrible thing that Chris has done. Because he has literally changed. He removed the audio from the part where she was being harassed and substituted it and used it as the background, deceptively, of the video clip from another video of hers when she was just walking around the homeless section, thereby making it appear as if she was making fun of homeless people and laughing at them. And she got so much harassment in her comment section from Chris abroad in Japan's community because they objectively believed him and they thought that she was literally laughing at homelessness. The reality is it wasn't the case. That was terrible.
Chris has filmed a number of videos that look a lot like paid advertisements and hasn't exactly been transparent about being compensated in return for promoting companies like Japan Railways. In fact, it seems like in this one, he went out of his way to convince the audience that it wasn't an ad.
Wow.
This is a crime in America, and I'm not a Japanese lawyer, but I believe it's also a crime in Japan. Which brings us back to Chris's video,
Yes.
What is Happening to Japan, where he has changed the pinned comment to respond to recent events. Now, this comment has been edited multiple times, but for the sake of authenticity, I'm going to use the original. Over the past couple of days, an onslaught of channels, many of whom appear to be friends of the creator in question, have criticized this video and myself. An onslaught of channels? Chris, go f*** yourself. Your video alone got like 10 times the exposure that our videos got, which, by the way, was just 4 creators, and this is not including the additional 2 or so million views of exposure that Chris got because of all the people
Preach it, brother.
who blindly agreed with him. To sit here and call this an onslaught of channels against you and pretend that you're the victim here when you started this and you by yourself have way more influence than all of us combined is insane.
True.
Not to say that my channel is small, but Chris is friends with like PewDiePie and a ton of the most popular influencers on the internet. This is by no means a fair fight, and he is not the victim. I originally hoped to draw a line under the matter, but since a handful of viewers have asked for further context, I'm absolutely willing to elaborate. He's talking about me here. This comment was made in response to my video. Who else would he be talking about? He kept his mouth shut about
because Think Before You Sleep is the one that has had the highest or the broadest, the highest reach of all of us when it comes to calling out abroad in Japan. And I'll put a link to all of these videos that have to do with this in the description, including the previous one, because if you know nothing about this, you should absolutely go check out the original video.
About this for over 3 weeks and conveniently had a response 2 or 3 days after my video released. But notice that just like how he blurred out Oriental Pearl's face and her channel name in his video, he did not cite any of the source material that he's talking about here in the pinned comment or let people know where they could find the criticism. It's almost like he doesn't want people fact-checking him by watching the source video.
Exactly.
And make no mistake, the reason he is saying something now is not because like 3 or 4 viewers wanted further clarification. It's because he likely was just caught committing multiple crimes. He doesn't want people to know about this, which is why instead of going on to every social media platform in existence to air out his grievances, like he originally did with Alyssa, he posts this response on the pinned comment of a video that's already got most of the views that it will get for the time being. So the millions of people who are misinformed by that defamatory edit he made of Alyssa won't see this response.
He doesn't care. In fact, at this point, I'm going to think that allegedly that's exactly what he wants. I can't read his mind, but it's quite clear he has a personal vendetta against Alyssa. I have a few theories as to why that is the case, but due to the fact that Think Before You Sleep is an excellent detective, I'm just going to watch and enjoy the ride.
Moving on, in CNN or BBC-like fashion, Chris starts his post off with a bunch of irrelevant filler bullshit content that he is using in the hopes that his viewers will get bored of reading before he actually responds to the most egregious allegations. This makes you look guilty, Chris. Anyway, so he starts his message out with whataboutism filler content about faces not being blurred. And just to quickly address this, clearly Chris knows how to use a blur effect, yet he didn't blur any of these faces either. So,
ooh, that's actually really good. That's a fantastic comeback. He did not blur any of the faces, including those people that were shown by the clips he used from Alyssa, and in general his own clips. He has filmed around in Japan and never... He literally let them... Oh, that's crazy. How did I not see that? That is insane double standard.
Obviously, he doesn't actually care. Anyway, let's skip all the word vomit and move on to the tiny bit at the end where Chris actually addresses a single issue that I brought up in my first video, which was the defamation claim. After this video was published, one edit to that montage was made, removing a couple of seconds of audio to avoid any potential confusion about chronology. This did not alter any argument or claim.
This did not alter, because he cut it. Did you hear this? So he is stating that he did nothing wrong, and yet he removed with the editing tool that you have on YouTube. You can edit videos out, if you don't know, and clip things out from videos that are already being published. And it usually takes maybe 20 minutes, and then the video is changed. He edited it out. The section where he specifically and maliciously swapped the audio to make Alyssa look 50 times worse than she actually was, specifically to generate harassment against her, allegedly, he'd removed it. Well, if you did nothing wrong, if I did nothing wrong and people accuse me, on your video about Cleopatra not being black, you said X. You think I'm going to edit it out if I think I've done nothing wrong? Not a chance in heaven and hell. I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to double down with another video to be like, no, that's what the research says. Cleopatra was Greek. She was not black. But the guy says, I did nothing wrong, and then he removes that incriminating part. Shut up.
Chris, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
Also, technically, it was 2 edits because he showed that moment twice. The moment in question is the one where he edits the audio to make it look like Alyssa's laughing at homeless people, when in reality, she's being actually harassed by a guy who isn't homeless. But sure, he did it to make certain that people wouldn't be confused about the sequence of events. Don't worry, it didn't alter any of my claims.
Manipulator.
Except your claim is that Alyssa doesn't care about homeless people, which is ridiculous. Alyssa has been doing homeless outreach work for years.
Look.
So his claim is that she doesn't care about society's most vulnerable, and she's treating them like some sort of exhibit at the zoo for her content.
It is a form of mental manipulation that Chris Broad is doing just on the basis of his personal hatred towards Alyssa, and it's disgusting to see.
And he's saying this as he edits her out of context to make it look like she's laughing at them. That clearly does alter people's perception of her, and it obviously was an intentional edit.
It's logical.
What respectable media-literate guy with journalistic integrity such as Chris claims to be would be stupid enough to use someone being sexually harassed as a weapon against them?
He took such a horrible moment. I'm sure it was horrible for her, being treated like a prostitute, to use a point where she was uncomfortable and nervous and just trying to get out of a bad situation and twist that to make it seem like she was making fun of these homeless people.
I don't know who she is, but she's great. He's probably going to have a link in the description of his comment section, in his video description.
Is so despicable that I can't watch any of his videos now and find entertainment or joy like I used to from them.
Same for me and my wife, by the way. We're not going to watch Chris in Japan, whatever the heck his name is, ever again.
So again, clearly he intentionally took her out of context and sold an untrue narrative to enhance his point and make her look bad. He does that all over his video. This was just the most egregious example.
Yes.
But all of this begs the question of, if none of this stuff from Chris is about moral standards or helping Japan, then why did he attack Alyssa?
Thank you.
Well, why don't we go over some information that I held back on? I think a part of the reason is personal drama, and the other part is about politics. I mentioned in the prior video that it would be difficult to tell how malicious Chris is being without insider information. Here's primarily what I meant.
Okay.
Chris wants to pretend that he had no idea who Alyssa was before this event.
I was accused of painting Japan as a utopia. I was accused of excluding her from my friendship group, somebody I've never met, never spoken to.
He's trying to play word games here to make his audience believe that he had no idea who Alyssa was until like a month ago. That's not true. The Western expat community is very small, and it is very easy to randomly bump into other expats, especially if you both live in Tokyo. Chris absolutely knew who Alyssa was before this whole event. He admitted to bumping into her before on a Sora the Troll livestream, and you can even see him slip up during the video where he's like, I don't know her at all. So anyway, a friend showed me this video of hers a few years ago. That being said, here's what I held back on in the previous video. I have Discord leaks of Charla, Chris's fiance, talking about Alyssa from as far back as 2022. Here's the reason why there is animosity between Chris and Alyssa. You can see here that one of the members is sort of complimenting Oriental Pearl or Alyssa, and Charlotte chimes in and says that Alyssa wrote some mean comments on her YouTube page. And then it ends with someone complaining that Alyssa called out some scammers who are pretending to be fluent in like 15 languages for money. I wonder why they would have an issue with that.
Yeah, exactly.
But the next question is, what was said? So I asked Alyssa for more context. The exact videos from Charlotte have since been deleted, but Alyssa remembers having about 100 subscribers at that point, and Charlotte was making a lot of cat videos, like a lot of cat videos. So in response, and as a fan during this time, Alyssa said, I'm not really feeling these cat videos. How terrible. She's so mean.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a big deal. Cat videos are nice, though. But man, that's crazy. So, well, I'm sure this is not the only reason, but if there was some kind of mini beef, so like basically what he's saying is that Chris's fiancés took offense and had personal beef against Alyssa because of a comment that wasn't even that mean. Yeah, that'd be crazy. From years ago? That'd be crazy. I don't think it's the only reason, but I can see how that could be a contributing factor. I do have 2 more reasons as to why I think Chris is against Alyssa in this instance. One is political, but I want to let him finish and then I'll add if he doesn't. And the other thing is probably jealousy. I think he's envious because I don't think Chris speaks Japanese. Alyssa not only speaks phenomenal Japanese, but on top of that, she's also fluent in Mandarin. That's just me.
The second comment that Alyssa made was on a video with Charlotte and her ex-husband, where his head was cut out because he didn't want to be on camera. And Alyssa said that was kind of awkward. That was it. Multi-year grudge because of a couple of comments that are basically just viewer feedback from someone who wasn't really a YouTuber at that point.
Yeah.
And because of that, Charlotte has been doing things like gatekeeping Alyssa from going to local events that other people want her at. So
that's crazy. So far, I really like the video. I reckon Think Before You Sleep did a fantastic job. Maybe this one last statement, we might need some proof that she did that for years, but for now, we'll continue.
Basically, a lot of the attacks from Chris.
She meaning Chris's fiance.
Keeping Alyssa from going to local events that other people want her at. So basically, a lot of the attacks from Chris are because Charlotte hates Alyssa over some petty bullshit. Well, maybe she also hates her out of jealousy because Alyssa has been married to a Japanese guy for multiple years now. Whereas how many years were Charlotte and Chris together and unmarried? Close.
Maybe. That's very speculative at this point. I mean, who knows? You can't really prove this one. So this one, personally, I say disregard to the audience.
To a decade? 3-year engagement. Holy shit. That doesn't sound like someone who has a lot of faith in their relationship.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to judge their relationship. They might have their own reasons as to why maybe they don't believe in marriage. So I say, as a traditional man who does believe in marriage and married a trad woman, but yeah, personally, I don't think that's a big deal. That it's their personal matter. Not enough information personally for us to say that she's jealous because Alyssa got married and they aren't married. Maybe she doesn't want to be married. Who knows?
A little life advice. If you want someone to trust you, Charla, then I would highly suggest that you refrain from shooting OnlyFans content. I'm sorry, that was petty. I shouldn't have said that. But when someone who has the obvious jealous energy of an obese man who's about 5'7" gets millions of views defaming your friend, you tend to feel a little bit petty.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't even know if this comment is real when it comes to the OnlyFans thing or not. Doesn't really have anything to do with this situation with Alyssa, so I'd say let's disregard that one as well, and let's continue.
So that's what this whole video from Chris is about. It has a lot more to do with his fiance or whatever being catty than it does to do with calling out morally objectionable behavior. This is why, despite him saying that the Japan is over content is like this huge trend in his video, he only goes after Alyssa.
It's extremely important to portray objective reality as best you can online. When you're a big creator, there is a burden of responsibility. Imagine if I'd made a video, the original What's Happening to Japan video, myself, right, with an audience of 3 million people. Some people, rational people, would have called me out. I mean, like, Chris, mate, a bit of graffiti and some bin bags is not Japan. But a lot of people would have been...
But now he's misrepresenting. That's a straw man. She did not say that that's Japan. See how he twisted it? That's insane what he just did now. I'm sure Think Before You Sleep will notice that and catch on to it. He just misrepresented Alyssa's point in video. That was not what Alyssa did. She didn't say, well, this is Japan. She didn't do that. That's a caricature of her point. Unbelievable.
Oh, Chris is a figure of several million followers. I respected some of his previous videos. He's right on this. And I am in a position to shape opinions.
I mean, in reality, it seems like you're very aware of what you can get away with because people see you as an authority figure, and you actively exploited that to attack a creator that you don't like.
True.
He doesn't care about any of this shit morally. He's doing most, if not all, the bad things that he accuses her of, which is why I think this is far more about personal drama his fiancé has than it is about morality. And this isn't the first
No, yeah,
time.
it has nothing to do with morality. If anything, Chris has been pontificating on how to be moral and made a fuss about nothing. Alyssa did nothing wrong. And in order to show how immoral Alyssa was, he did something 10 times more immoral, which is why we're calling him out. I personally don't care about his own personal situation. I understand how it can be relevant if I think Before You Sleep is correct when it comes to his assessment as the fact that maybe there is some personal beef that has to do with other parties involved, such as Chris's fiance, then yes, it's important to cover it, and that's fine. I personally don't care about the relationship and the details of the relationship, what they do, what they don't, they're married, they're not married. I don't particularly care about that. But I do think that even if that is a point which is a possibility, a contributing factor, I don't think that's the only thing. And definitely politics play a larger role into this, 100%.
That Chris has taken shots at Alyssa.
With Tokyo vlog content overload from other channels, anything unique, exciting and new from abroad in Japan that we haven't seen before when you move to Tokyo. Well, now that I'm here in Tokyo, I can assure you, you're going to see the most groundbreaking, dynamic, original Japan-based content that you have ever seen. Content like, White Man Speaks Japanese to Strangers, Shock, Surprise, Sugoi, Mind's Blown.
This is almost a direct copy of one of Alyssa's thumbnails. More proof that he's actually known about her for years.
And he has been annoyed by her for years, which, of course, he doesn't have to like her, obviously. However, if you dislike a creator for so many years, I mean, look at the mocking, it's clearly the same, written the same things. Yeah, obviously this is what it is. Then you're not going to be, you're not going to be able to safely guard from selective bias when you're trying to be objective and moral. Not because you can't stand her. And besides, shouldn't you make fun of Xiaoma at this point if this kind of content annoys you? Am I right?
It's not someone he just found out about. This attack right here is purely about him not liking her. It's not about the content format because, you know, when it's a Japanese creator doing this like Kazu Languages or Namaste Kohei, Chris says nothing.
Oh, that's so true.
Alyssa isn't even the most popular person in this niche. I believe that it's Xiaoma who is so ridiculous that he literally made a video where he's like, I surprised monkeys by speaking monkey to them. Yeah, so again,
he's a meme.
None of this was about morality. All of the grandstanding was clearly just a way to attack Alyssa.
Yes.
I don't really know how anyone can ever trust a guy again who would defame someone and try to cover it up because his girlfriend of like 8 years got offended by a comment saying, I'm not feeling the cat videos. And Chris will sit here playing the victim, saying how this put him through a dark and depressing chapter, which personally I think has a lot more to do with alcohol abuse than another creator making a video he didn't like. But he'll say that this is such a dark time for him as he defamed someone and essentially got away with it. Though, as I said, there's also a second part of this, which is about a difference in politics that normally I wouldn't have cared about.
Let's go.
However, I now find this political difference between Oriental Pearl and Chris to be a little concerning, especially considering that he now knows he can get away with defamation and get overwhelming support from his audience and other creators. The concerning part is that Chris is actually fairly politically radical, but he's hiding it because he has a mixed audience and doesn't want to lose followers.
Right, so the opposite of me. I'm being very transparent when it comes to my politics, although then again, I am obviously not an extremist, not a radical. With that being said, I am moderately right-wing, I've always said that. But yeah, people like that try to hide it, annoy me. Not that you have to, you can keep your politics to your own, but I think he's buddies with Hassan Piker, isn't he? So it's not like, and again, not trying to do guilty by association, but Hassan Piker is scum. So obviously the guy's lefty. Obviously the guy's left-wing. Radical, you say? Well, let's see how he's going to prove it.
Before I elaborate on that, let's talk about the comment section from Chris's video.
Okay.
Now, I would be lying if I said I didn't notice that Chris's comment section changed a bit after my video came out. That's just what happens when anyone gets criticized on YouTube. Unfortunately, there's nothing that you can really do about it. However, the issue here is that prior to this, Chris made a big deal by saying it was censorship when Alyssa asked him to remove his comments about her, and did a speech on how creators should be open to scrutiny.
Which he would be correct about, because just because I don't like him differently from him, it doesn't mean that I can't say that would be correct. Yes, I mean, I would never ask anyone to delete comments about me. Yeah, good luck with that. You'd have to do like a freaking blood hunt for the hundreds of thousands at this point.
think if you are a large content creator, both literally and metaphorically, you should be willing to accept a degree of scrutiny. I know I do. Every time I release a video, people attack me for various things. And if I see something that I believe misconstrues reality, then I'm going to call it out as well.
Well, I just so happened to notice that after Chris went onto every social media platform in existence to trash Alyssa, and after tons of creators were trashing her as well, she didn't delete the comments that came from his fans, even after weeks of constant brigading on multiple videos. Alyssa also did not delete Chris's comment on her video either.
Okay.
However, 2 days after my video released...
He didn't. Oh, he didn't. He did not. Please. Oh, my God. Oh, I can't believe. He deleted your comment and the comments of the people that were complaining about him after all of that spiel?
Notice that all the comments on Chris's video made by new viewers mysteriously disappeared, and so did everyone else. Here's something else that happened. Much like Chris felt free to post in Alyssa's comment section, Alyssa posted this message offering a chance to work things out.
Yeah.
Alyssa is a conservative Catholic.
Good
She's
woman.
actually very Catholic, and a part of her faith is to genuinely offer forgiveness to people who've wronged her. Anyway, Chris deleted that comment almost instantly.
Call out people that are wrong, including me, including him. If we say things that you don't think are right, always call the people out. Even if, especially if there are people in positions of influence.
Right. I found this comment here too, saying that Chris is immune to hate comments, which is why he spends tons of time deleting them, especially ones that might notify his fans that he defamed someone. Crazy. Wait, did he like his own post? Cringe.
And for some clarity, I really don't dislike this person. I dislike their content, not just this video, but some other videos, which I'll discuss. I know I can be sarcastic and silly, but I'm genuinely not a malicious person. I quite honestly wish her well. And
if this were true, you would have apologized. No, first admitted, because before you can even apologize, you would have admitted that you did the manipulation you did when it comes to the section where she was harassed, that you specifically designed in order to make her look awful. No, you denied everything. You took zero responsibility. You dodged everything. You deflected every accusation. You don't wish her well. We don't believe it for a second. And that makes you look malicious. That makes you look malicious.
I ask you, if you disagree with her, if you disagree with me, that you always comment in a respectful manner and don't share any hatred online.
I think he's just saying that. I have a lot.
True, me too. But at least he said it. You know, when it comes to, I will appreciate that he told his people, his community, not to send hatred. They still did. But at that point, I can see why Think Before You Sleep doesn't believe it. And personally, I'm also leaning towards not believing it. But due to the fact that my haters never even try. You watch one of those like Bad Empanada, Freda, all the Afrocentric community, all those crazy radical leftists that made videos to hate on me. If there was one that said, don't go and attack him. Extremely rare. You'll find a couple. Extremely rare. Most of the time, I'm the one who says it. While them, bigot, racist, right-wing, far-right grifter, they say the whole thing.
A lot of trouble believing that this wasn't malicious, considering the prior drama with Charla and the defamatory edit, and also the numerous false allegations in his video against Oriental Pearl that were pretty easy to prove as untrue with a small amount of research. But I mean, what's the point in being respectful if you're just going to delete Alyssa's comment anyway?
True.
However, I think what's more telling is the comments that he didn't delete. In fact, there were 2 comments that I noticed that he liked. Here's the first one. Thank you, Chris, for being a voice of reason in these trying times. What, did AI write this? All the haters are coming from a right-wing YouTuber called Think Before You Sleep. Now, there were a number of sycophants supporting Chris in the comments after my video released, but I only personally saw him like this one, the one that mentions my politics.
Yeah, of course, because right-wing equals boogeyman.
The other like was found by somebody else. But when Chris started going on his comment deleting fury, he removed this like and deleted the comment below it that ratioed it. Here's the second like by Chris that was thankfully caught by a YouTuber who goes by Evil Dia. It comes under a comment talking about Chris's edited clip, and it says, "You meant white nationalists think before you sleep?" I mean, if Chris wants to say I'm a white nationalist when all I did in my video was say what Japanese people are saying, then I think that maybe Japan isn't that great of a fit for him. He literally liked a comment that had the energy of, "Everyone I disagree with is a Nazi," And I get labeled as this because I said that foreigners need to learn English if they want to live in America, illegals should be deported, and we shouldn't import too many people at the same time. These are all things that Japanese people believe. As this because I said that foreigners need to learn English if they want to live in America.
Correct.
Illegals should be deported, and we shouldn't import too many people at the same time.
True.
These are all things that Japanese people believe.
Yeah.
By the way, the evidence of this like is also gone. But thankfully, what's happened here with all these likes is that it's confirmed a little suspicion that I've had, because it's hard to tell what Chris's exact stances are. However, he will slip up a bit with dog whistles like this.
In fact, the King of America himself is here in Japan for, I think, 48 hours.
Right.
Mr. Trump, President Trump is here.
There's also this little moment here when he talks about the menu from when Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi and Trump met.
I've just found the menu for what they had for lunch. They had, the Prime Minister had lunch. Here's what they had. I mean, the steak sounds good. Don't know about the rest, but what do you reckon? Would you be happy with that if you're the dictator?
You can.
You see, again, you don't like Trump, that's fine. Obviously, if you're left wing, you don't like Trump. So you're centrist, perhaps Trump is not your centrist. Maybe you don't like Trump. Or you are moderately conservative and you're like, Trump is not my favorite. I mean, I prefer him over Kamala Harris, but it's not my favorite. That's fine. It's your politics. We're not really pointing the finger here to say, see, he hates Trump. That's a bad thing. We are pointing the finger to be like, this is an investigation at this point. And what this proves is that very likely he's at least very left-leaning, which would explain in this context that one of the possible reasons as to why he can't stand a conservative Catholic.
See, he kind of stopped himself there, and these sort of seem like innocuous comments, but he said them to virtue signal to his leftist audience without pissing off the people on the right who also watch him. Mm-hmm. He wants the left to know where he lies politically, but he still wants the YouTube money and the tourism money from people on the right. So he'll purposefully make his exact stances unclear. But there are dog whistles like this all over Chris's content. Mm-hmm. And what I've found is that when you get people like, say, Defamation, who are pretending to be non-political while at the same time not being able to shut up about their politics, these tend to be people who are very much towards the extreme end of their side.
I can see
Make
that.
no mistake, if you scroll back far enough, you can see a less calculated Chris expressing some Trump derangement syndrome on Twitter in 2016. And to this I say, Chris, nobody cares about your opinion on Trump.
Yeah, you see that. So as you can see, me and Think Before You Sleep are approaching this the same way. It's absolutely legitimate for you to not like one president, another president, a president candidate, another candidate. It's totally fine. There is a different reason as to why we are now examining this as a possible component to the reason why you went after that girl.
You aren't American, nor do you live in America. Say, Chris, nobody cares about your opinion on Trump. Mm-hmm. You aren't American, nor do you live in America or have U.S. citizenship. How about you stay out of politics that you aren't beholden to?
I mean, that what I will disagree with Think Before You Sleep, because I say anyone can have an opinion on anything. As long as they are informed, I would say. If someone comes and tells me they love Meloni in Italy, or that they hate Meloni in Italy, I'm not going to dismiss their opinions simply because they're not from Italy. And in fact, I myself have shared my opinions on the new Iron Lady in Japan, and I think she's based. Theoretically, someone could use that against me and tell me you're not Japanese, so you shouldn't. And I think it's fine to share your opinions. So this part I disagree.
What's your favourite thing about Donald Trump?
What?
How about you stay out of politics that you aren't beholden to?
What's your favourite thing about Donald Trump?
There isn't a favourite thing. Zero.
My favourite thing about Donald Trump is that one day he will die.
Here.
Oh, that's bad, though. Why is it bad? Because... Okay, I'm going to have to agree with Think Before You Sleep, then. That's bad because, again, there was an assassination attempt. If this was said after the assassination attempt, and then you laugh, then I'm going to agree with him. That sounds like radicalized politics, because I don't laugh at people's death, left or right, or possible death.
Messed up, right? Instead of fighting against a chatter wishing death on Trump, Chris agrees with them. Mm-hmm. Now, Connor did have enough sense to say the comment was morbid, but neither of them say they disagree.
You know that video I did with you where we went to Love Hotel and I read...
They can't say it because they will be eaten alive by their left-wing audiences.
I jokingly read Art of the Deal.
Yeah.
Some people thought I was serious, and were like, I'm really disappointed in you, Chris. Supporting Donald Trump. And it's like, no. I was making fun of the world's shitest book. How did you not see that?
So after seeing this, I don't think it's too outlandish to point out that the second reason I think that Chris attacked Alyssa and thought it was okay to defame her is because she is politically on the right, and he's a part of the segment of the left that openly hates and dehumanizes people they disagree with. But also, it's a little bit bigger than that, and I do have strong concerns about Chris's politics, considering that he has a lot of influence on foreign communities. And that's not just his channel in itself, but also all the channels that he influences through his friend group and his tourism brand agency, Sekai Studios. These are huge. Chris and his trash taste friend group have a lot of influence. And that's not to say that tourism is bad or immigration is.
Man, the Anime Man was fun to watch, though. I hope he's not. Well, I don't want to. We need proof for stuff. So maybe Anime Man is cool and he's fine. He's not. He just talks about anime.
Bad. But in Japan, it's gotten ridiculous, and Chris has repeated the sentiment that he is unhappy when there isn't a constant flow of tourism.
Both the Lost Bar team and the JJ Esim team, right, both must be like, Chris, oh my god, numbers are low, there's less people in the bar, what's going on? I'm like, have you not looked out the bloody window? It's Suyu, it's rainy season. For all of June, it basically rains, and it doesn't stop, and no tourists come Japan. Like, the number of tourists massively drops off a cliff. It's a good time to come here, though.
Right, just make sure the local population never has a break from over-tourism. I think I already established that Chris has a huge profit motive in helping drown out Japanese culture with a constant flow of tourists. But this isn't the only concerning thing that he has promoted.
The number of foreigners working in Japan hits an all-time high. 25% come from the same country.
It's quite a cool thing to see.
Okay, because the one about tourism, I'm like, it depends. I can see why someone who works in tourism would be happy or proactive about having tourists and more flows of tourists. I can see that one. But now they're talking about foreigners working in Japan, so this is about immigration specifically. Well, let's hear, because this could get problematic, to use a term that they love on the left.
Much needed, given the decline in population. The LDP, the ruling government over the last sort of decade, has been kind of sneakily bringing in more and more people. They've done a pretty good job bringing in sort of 250,000 foreigners a year to fill the gap and try and fill in the void of workers.
That's awful. No, if there aren't enough births of indigenous Japanese population, considering the fact that Japan belongs to the Japanese, first and foremost, to think, I completely disagree with him now. Yeah, he's quite very left-wing on these policies. That's crazy to me. Because, first of all, again, in Japan, Japanese first. In America, Americans first. In Italy, Italian first, obviously. But the other thing is that, no, you should encourage the locals to reproduce more and have more children, so that you don't need to swap the native population of Japan with floods of millions of immigrants from, most likely, either like, I don't know, India, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia. Where are they coming from at this point? And because that's going to change completely the face of Japan, and it's just wrong. And sneakily, a government that does it sneakily, how is that a good oh my gosh, I swear, when it comes to immigration, it's one of those things that, because I'm sure there are things that we can agree on if you're left-wing on some policies like universal healthcare. That's one that I like. But immigration, guys, you got to drop this with illegals particularly. Come on, be logical.
Just aren't enough young people in Japan to fill all the jobs, the vacancies that are popping up in convenience stores and restaurants and whatnot.
He means the third world. If you look at the article they're reading, it's mostly people from poor countries that are immigrating. That's who you'll see working in the convenience stores if you go to Japan. And by the way, just as a side note, because the topic of anti-foreign sentiment came up in Chris's video, when it comes to anti-foreign sentiment, Logan Paul and Johnny Somali aren't really that big of an issue. They're just a hot-button topic for Westerners who don't know that much about Japan. Japan doesn't really have a lot of prejudice towards Americans.
True.
The actual prejudice towards foreigners from Japanese people is towards the Chinese and Southeast Asians. And I mean Japanese people really do not like the Chinese because they're infamous for poor behavior.
I guess it depends on the person, but as a general thing, and plus they have hundreds of years of war I mean, there is some historical basis to that hatred, and the hatred is reciprocal, by the way. Maybe younger generation, not so much, but in general, Japanese hate Chinese and Chinese hate Japanese. That does happen a lot.
They see the Chinese how Twitter sees Indians. Now, Chris does bring up long working hours being a problem in Japan when it comes to low birth rates, but outside of that, he doesn't really push back against mass immigration at all.
No, he likes it.
Instead, he's like, no, actually, it's a good thing to destroy Japan's culture by importing infinite poor people who will accept lower wages and lower working conditions, just like they do in the West.
You know, I think people are shocked and surprised when they go into a store and they don't see any Japanese workers anymore. It's quite a big change, quite a big deal in Japan, I think. Yeah, it's quite a big change.
I think this is a retarded solution to the problem, and we should all be rejecting the idea of globalism,
I agree.
where the entire world is just a blob of every kind of person, and nothing is actually unique or rich in culture like Japan.
I agree.
And while it is true that labor shortages can be a problem...
And besides, sorry to interrupt him, but it doesn't matter what we think. What matters is what Japanese think in this instance, because it's their land. And if the Japanese, as a majority, are against this, then the idea of a government that sneakily doesn't listen nor respect the desires and wishes for preservation of its own culture, of its own people, I would take a massive issue with that. And I would be in favor of Japan, Japanese. It's their land. How does someone who lives in Japan for 13 years now? How long has he been living in Japan? He still hasn't learned to appreciate Japanese people in Japan?
Chris's solution to this issue is becoming vastly unpopular with Japanese people.
Of course.
And it's unpopular because mass immigration will not fix the core issues that are causing low birth rates.
Clearly.
All it's going to do is turn Japan into the third world.
Yeah.
However, I don't think stuff like drowning out the culture of Japan matters to Chris, because I don't think Chris is really all that interested in genuinely helping Japanese people. I think he just sees it as a place to profit.
Maybe more than the profit part. I can understand why you see it that way. I think it's just a political thing. It's just a political thing because now we're so tribalistic that what does the left think? They think that immigration is good, then I have to think immigration is good if I'm left-wing. Likewise, what does the right think? The right is for tight borders and secure patrol and blocking illegal immigration, and then if I'm right-winger, I have to agree with that, regardless of what I actually feel or think personally at an individual level. This is something that that's why I'm saying there are some issues when it comes to policy where I might agree with left-wingers, even though I'm clearly right-wing. However, this it's nonsensical when it comes to this situation here, because again, if you love Japan, to call it your own home, how can you like mass immigration?
The reason I think that is because of something else that I held back on from the previous video. I don't think Chris speaks Japanese. I don't think he cares enough about Japanese people to learn the language.
The language part is the one that I think, and if it's true, maybe he does speak a little bit. I don't think that after so many years, but maybe he doesn't really speak it well. Like maybe he speaks it like low level, very low level, maybe he doesn't understand. Turns on the TV, hasn't got a clue what the news are saying. And so maybe he's jealous of Alyssa's skill. That's to me, I would put the jealousy for language second, the politics first, and the whatever beef with his girlfriend, fiance last. That's what I think.
And apparently, I'm not the only one who feels that way.
Because honestly, I don't know if Abroad in Japan is fluent at this point.
I don't think he is.
Out of the two, I would say Oriental Pearl is probably a better speaker, which could be part of the problem.
Honestly, I thought I was the only one who thought it was incredibly suspicious that you can never find Chris speaking more than like 3 words of Japanese, outside of maybe 2 videos that were made years ago. In one of them, he goes to a Japanese language learning school, and his Japanese is so basic that they had to put him in a beginner class, despite having lived in Japan for almost 7 years at that point. During the video, not only is his pronunciation horrendous, and I can't emphasize enough how much Chris butchers the Japanese language in his videos, so not only that, but if you know Japanese, you can see that he mistranslates the specific nuance of what's being said in the subtitles.
I'll see what this video now. I'd like to say, once again, I'm not personally pointing the finger at someone who hasn't got maybe the skill, the interest, whatever. We are looking at this as a possibility to justify or reason why he can't stand Alyssa. That's the only reason. I would never make fun of someone. I know people that lived in Japan for 20 years and haven't learned a single word. Well, they've learned words, but you know what I mean. They're not even conversational. See, baby. See. Asi. Tadaji.
It's the specific nuance of what's being said in the subtitles.
じゃあイギリスの出身ですが、6年間ぐらい日本にずっと住んでました。今仙台に住んでYouTube という仕事をしています。じゃあよろしくお願いします。今日。Thank you very much.
はい、クリスさんはいつ日本へ来ましたか？6年前に。はい。
These subtitles are wrong. The teacher said, "When did Chris come to Japan?" And the students responded, 6 years ago. Chris's translation was, "How long has Chris been in Japan?" And the students responded, 6 years.
That's not too bad. I mean, he's correct. He's correct. Slightly pedantic, but I appreciate pedantry, so it's fine. As a contextual translation, I don't mind the usage of present perfect continuous to establish the idea of a length of time, even though Japanese, as we can see here, クリスさんはいつ日本へ来ましたか? Okay, so クリスさんはいつ日本へ来ましたか? So 来ます come is the polite form of 来る, which means to come. So obviously it's the past tense. So when did he come to Japan is, this will be a literal translation. When did Chris come to Japan? Rather than how long has he been living in Japan? With that being said, I wouldn't say it's too much of a big deal, but definitely the Japanese that we just heard, once again, this is a few years ago though, maybe did get better. But if it's still at this level, then yeah, it's like very, very like beginner, both in terms of pronunciation, fluency, and anything else. And then, of course, so this is sensei, gakusei, 6年前, 6 years ago.
Which is wrong. Now, this may seem super nitpicky because he got the gist of it correct. However, he makes multiple nuance errors in his translation throughout the video. And the problem is that this Japanese is very basic.
Yeah.
This type of conversation is the first thing that you learn in Japanese study. And if he's making nuance mistakes on stuff this basic, close to 7 years after you moved, then he did not put that much effort into studying.
Well, that's the problem. Yeah, if that was the Japanese of someone who has done 3 weeks of Japanese or a month of Japanese, and he prepared that little talk, fine. But yeah, he's correct. 6 years, and that's how you speak. Of course, it means you haven't put the time. And which is, once again, it's fine. You don't have to learn the language or become fluent, but it could explain to us why he's so angry against Alyssa, who's instead exceptional at both Japanese and Mandarin. But of course, I do 100% understand where Think Before You Sleep is saying here. Overall, I do agree with his assessment that Chris really doesn't speak Japanese, and if he does, it's very basic.
Responded, 6 years, which is wrong. Now, this may seem super nitpicky because he got the gist of it correct. However, he makes multiple nuance errors in his translation throughout the video, and the problem is that this Japanese is very basic. This type of conversation is the first thing that you learn in Japanese study, and if he's making nuance mistakes on stuff this basic, close to 7 years after you moved, then he did not put that much effort into studying, which means there's no way that he understands any complex Japanese. And it shows in other content even when he's not speaking that much. For example, in this video that was in my first video about Chris, I noticed something that I didn't really elaborate on because other people that are more fluent than me fought me on it because Chris has been living in Japan for 13 years. Of course he can speak Japanese. So in this video, I noticed that not only does he fail at basic pronunciation and stumbles a lot when speaking despite only saying 3 words at a time, he's speaking in short sentences because it makes it easier to hide how bad he is. That's a technique that fake polyglots use a lot.
That's true.
So not only that, but the Japanese lady is using a lot of borrowed English words instead of the Japanese words for them to help him out, and she's gesturing a lot to indicate the meaning of the words that she's using.
Business はどうですか？
あれね、クリスが来てくれてから、YouTube に上げてから、そう、外国のお客さんが、いっぱい来てくれるようになって。
Oh my god. どちらの国から来ましたか？
オーストラリアとか、カナダからも来た。
どうやってコミュニケーションできますか？
もうとにかく、こう、ジェスチャー Thank you! とかね、もう、で、お茶飲む。
She's nice though. I like her a lot.
とかね、もう。
For those of you who can't speak Japanese, to put it simply, She's speaking to him like a retard, despite him living in the country for 7 years at that point. Now, Chris did release this video here around a year prior, where he is noticeably better, despite still speaking low-level Japanese, so either he cheated with scripting and editing, or he got worse over time. But in this video, he provides some clarity on why he has such poor Japanese, even though he had been living in Japan for a long time.
Yeah, of course, it's not like he's forced to be fluent in Japanese, but the only reason I would say that we are examining this is to understand if that could be one of the main areas of envy towards Oriental Pearl, who, for a fact, is fluent. Like, really good. That's the only reason why, at least when it comes to me. At least when it comes to me.
I haven't actually spoken Japanese in a long time.
It's good practice.
I really don't speak it as much as I should because a lot of my friends speak English rather well.
That's the thing. They always want to practice English, so you feel bad speaking Japanese with them.
So he lives in a gaijin bubble. Gaijin means foreigner, for those of you who don't watch anime, and it's not uncommon for foreigners in Japan to only associate with other foreigners or Japanese people who speak English, and so they don't learn the language.
True.
Chris appears to be one of these people, despite knowing a few words and a little bit of grammar. And he hides his speaking ability so much in recent years that I don't think he's gotten better at the language since these videos were made several years ago.
Content like, white man speaks Japanese to strangers. Shock, surprise, sugoi. Mind's blown.
Chris, you couldn't make these kinds of videos. You don't have the skill to make these videos.
He's right. When it comes to this, think before you sleep is right. I don't think he has the skill to do it, and that could be the reason why he finds it obnoxious. It could be jealousy. At this point, I do believe it. Now, was it enough, that little video, to assess professionally Chris's actual level? No. However, it would be very easy to do. I could just go live with Chris, and we could just speak Japanese. I could do that, not a problem. But we would have to speak for a good, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Constantly, continuously, a continuous flow of Japanese. I can do that, no problem. And see how it goes. Yeah.
Korean is Alyssa's fourth language, and she's better at Korean than you are at Japanese.
Most likely, yes. Alyssa is really good. Her Mandarin is fantastic.
I mean, he had the audacity to call this slop content when his Japanese is so bad that people speak to him like he's a child. He actually admits that he stopped studying Japanese for multiple years in the pinned comment of the language school video.
Okay.
So half the time he had been in Japan when that video was released, he was not studying. And the 3 years prior studying that he did was a lot, but it's not enough to be highly fluent at Japanese unless you practice all day.
True.
Learning Japanese takes a very long time. But geez, he's LARPing in this comment. There's no way he's anywhere near JLPT-1. I think he would struggle to pass.
I'm considering taking JLPT-1. Oh, come on. I probably couldn't pass JLPT-1. And I teach Japanese. I at least used to teach Japanese. I'd like to get back to it. Let's be honest. Come on. This is so annoying. Gosh, so annoying.
JLPT-4 after seeing this video. Also, you can pass the highest level of that test and still not be able to speak Japanese.
And that's true.
So the JLPT is useless.
Mostly for
anyway, him not knowing
well, not useless, but yeah.
knowing Japanese makes all this grandstanding really funny. He's out there basically saying that Japanese people don't really think that graffiti is a problem. Well, how the fuck do you know? You can't even talk to them or understand the news.
At the end of the video, I talked about how I've lived here 13 years and people write off my opinions because I'm not born in Japan. I'm not Japanese. And at what point do I become a local? What point does my opinion matter something?
Yeah,
I saw people react being like, I think it's important we got the locals' opinions on this. I am inherently a local, and I lived in Meguro for 3 years or so. But at what point do you become a local? What point does your opinion become valid?
It counts when you can speak the language, Chris. If you're not going to learn it, then leave. Go back to England. Alyssa was taking college courses in Japanese at the 6-year point, yet at that point, you couldn't even handle Harry Potter or say basic sentences without stumbling. How am I supposed to believe you have an informed opinion on the ideas of Japanese people when you can't even speak to them on a level higher than a 6 or a 7-year-old?
I've had people attack me this year. They'd be like, well, Chris is wrong, he's just a foreign guy living in Japan. We had some things happen earlier on this year, which I won't dredge up, but people were ruling out my opinion because I wasn't Japanese.
Let me clarify that because I think he's being unclear here on purpose. He had Japanese people attack him for stupid opinions that he had. I mean, Chris, you're the exact kind of entitled foreigner that everyone hates in places like America. You don't speak the language, you advocate in favor of things that Japanese people don't want, like vandalism, and you're like, Yeah, what Japan really needs is a ton of poor people from foreign countries who won't learn the language to move here and replace the local population.
The Japanese commenters are right.
Then you go and defame someone who's actually trying to help the Japanese.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I guess your film studying hobbies were more important than learning the language and respecting the culture that's invited you in.
Absolutely
Anyway,
true.
it's actually insane how easy it was for Chris to defame Oriental Pearl because basically no one fact-checked him. I think the lesson of the day
you did.
Here is that we shouldn't just blindly believe people, especially if they aren't very transparent about their sources. Like maybe if, say, a former professional doxer named Candace Owens starts citing her dreams as a resource, you should be suspicious.
Like I just said, had a vivid dream this weekend, and Charlie came to me and he told me that he was betrayed. And so for me, you don't have to believe that, but I do believe that. And it was the immediate sense I got, actually. And I don't know who exactly it is that betrayed him, but I also felt in the dream that it is soon going to be revealed, that it's actually inevitable that it is going to be revealed, that there is nothing and no one that is going to stop the truth from coming out, and it is going to have international consequences. Take that to the bank. Quote me on that.
You should probably just laugh at people like this instead of giving them millions of views. That's really the issue here. It's the lack of ridiculing people for not being transparent about their resources. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.
No, yeah, overall, very good work. Very good work. Can't even speak. Talking about people who can't speak languages. Anyways, appreciate your work. Think before you sleep. I'll have to check your name again. I keep forgetting. Man, I'm bad with names. Thank you for watching. And Chris is a muppet. If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support helps me and my team of academics keep the channel strong and gives us the means to fight back against the political rewriting of history. Stand with us, form the wall, defend the truth.